with the very first problem, you had a few minutes to work on it. What did you do?
Common denominator.
Yeah, and what common denominator did you use?
Oh,
Well, so we need to times this one by 3, this one by 4, and don't forget this one by 12. Right? Everything has to have the common denominator. And now, as soon as they are all the same, we can ignore them. So we have 3x plus 9 minus 8x equals negative 36. So it looks like negative 5x plus 9 equals negative 3x. Subtract 9. Did you get x equal to 9 when you solve that? I don't see very many nodding. Are we awake here? We good with that? Good. All right. B, absolute value. Now you can solve this however you want. I am going to divide everything by 2. And then every time I have one of these symbols, I know a number line is going to be involved. No matter how you do it, you're going to want to have a number line. And then in the middle of the number line, remember how this works? I'm going to put a 3/2 or a 1.5 or a 1.5, however you think about it. You're going to put that right in the middle of the number line. And then we're going to have a dot over here and a dot over here. And how will we figure out where those dots are? We take 1.5 and add 2. So if you're doing decimals, you'll have 3.5. If you're doing fractions, you'll have 7/2. Doesn't matter. So we added 2 that way. And now we're going to subtract 2 this way, so we'll be at -1/2. 2 dots, always shaded inside or out. Since it's a greater than, we know greater than means out. Always, we're going to answer as an interval. So negative infinity to -1/2. And again, I put a decimal, you could put a fraction, doesn't matter. Or 3.5 to infinity. Remember, if it's on the practice test, it's on the test. Okay? So if you have a question about it, you need to ask, because you're going to have to do this when we take our test on Friday. Okay, good? All right. What about the next one? Do not draw a number line for the next one. Because notice, it's not an inequality. It's just a straight up equation. How do you want to solve that? Quadratic formula is awesome. I don't think it's going to factor, and I do not want to complete the square because I'd have to divide everything by 3 and just get a bunch of fractions. So I think the quadratic formula is the best. So A is 3, B is 7, C is -2. Here we go, x equals opposite of E plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. Now be careful here. See I've got 2 negatives? So that's not going to be a subtract, that's going to be an add. So we're going to have 49 plus 24. So -7 plus or minus the square root of 73, which is lovely because I don't have to worry about breaking it down. Good? Okay. Alright, so that's part one. That's some solve questions. Alright, we solved. Now we're doing part two, which is simplify. And we've got some i's. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that negative. So -3 plus 2i. Does everyone recognize that letter A is not a foil, but letter B is a foil? Okay, keep that straight. We're not foiling here. Remember A, we're just combining like terms. So I got 1 plus 3i as my answer. Right? We're not going to miss that one, right, guys? We're not going to miss that one. That uniform, that sweatshirt's my uniform. Huh? Okay. Now we're gonna foil, right? Now we're gonna foil. So here we go. 18, and with first, outside, inside, last. All right, tell me about that. What do you notice about that? Anything? When you get your fundraising goal, then you can wear a spirit shirt underneath. All right. Did you notice this makes a +2?
Yeah.
So 20 minus 9i should have been your final answer. All right, page 1 is done.
For the first simplified problem for like A, I think, did you change the equation like,
I didn't need to. Well, I have to distribute that negative.
oh, so you could change that?
Yeah. That negative goes to everything that comes after it in the parentheses. All right, Gabby? Yeah. Oh boy, here come the properties. All right, tell me what property, do you know any of those? Can you fill in any of those blanks? A, B, or C? Everybody in the room better know C. C is distributive, yeah, C is the distributive property. That one's easy, not missing distributive. Now in A, I'm adding two things and they are canceling each other out. Right? That's an inverse. Anytime they cancel out, it's an inverse. And this one is addition, so it's the additive inverse. Additive inverse. And you can abbreviate that just so I know, I can tell what you mean, additive inverse. What happened in B? Nothing canceled out, that's not what's going on. What happened there? parentheses, got shifted? So we regrouped. What is the grouping property? Associative. That's associative of multiplication. Associative of multiplication. Okay, guys, got properties on the practice test, 3 of them. What does that mean about your real test? Maybe 3 of them. So you study those. There's an extra practice sheet in Canvas, an extra practice property sheet. I think we might have one in our notes too. We have time at the end of the period, we'll look at those. But I actually have it printed off for you on the back of the first page of your notes. All right, so this one is tricky. Because we didn't do much of this. But you did a lot of it before. I think you know what to do. Take a look at that problem. Obviously, we're not using the quadratic formula, right? Everybody understands that? Because it's not quadratic, it's x cubed. What do you notice about it, Kyle? You had your hand up. What do you
Now you
notice?
can take out an X.
Well, I have to be careful, because can I take an x out of the whole thing? No. And when I can't take an x out of the whole, or take something out of the whole thing, then I kind of look at maybe splitting it up into 2 smaller problems. We call this factoring by grouping. If I look at just the first 2, what can come out of those? X squared. What would be left? Remember, I'm just looking at the first 2. What would be left? X plus 4. Perfect. All right, now let's look at the last 2. What can I take out of the last 2? I can actually take a negative 4, so I'm going to take out that negative 4. Now, if you take out the negative 4, you're going to be left with x plus 4. Remember, you took out the negative. And then, of course, we're so excited because these match. They have to. Okay, those have to match. So write down the match. Write down everything else. So here's my match. So I write down my match once. Just write it down one time. And then everything that's left. And then what do you notice about this stuff that's left? It's the difference of squares. So it can be written as x how? X plus 2, x minus 2. Now no number line, this is an equals. No number line, we'll just write down our answers. What are our answers? X equals negative 4, negative 2, and 2. I'm not going to try that one again. We go from a really tough problem to a really, really easy problem. What's our strategy with B? Square both sides. So 3x minus 8 equals 36. Add 8. And divide. See that? Now take a look at the last one on the page here. Do you notice that it is an inequality? So that means 2 things to me. It means I'm going to have a number line, and it means my answer will be an interval. Parentheses, brackets, or whatever. It won't be like this. It'll be an interval. Alright, so how do I go about starting this problem?
Can you factor?
Can you factor? Absolutely, you're going to factor. And what will the factors be? Minus 6 plus 2, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now I got my number line already. So I'm going to have 2 dots on the number line and they will be closed in. Right? Which means in my answer I'll be using brackets. Where are the dots? Negative 2 and 6. How many dots do I have? I'm going to shade in between them, or I'm going to shade outside of them. What do you think? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Outside. So negative infinity to negative 2. Remember, infinity is always parentheses. Or our test is half done. Alright, so here we go on to the next part. Given 2 points, find this. Now we have got to know what that means. Mrs. Ford is not going to tell you. You need to know, what does that mean? What are we supposed to do here? Just find the distance. And the distance is this. So we're going to subtract our x's and square it. Subtract our y's and square it. Add them up and take the square root. Six minus 1 is 5, and 5 squared is 25. 3 minus negative 2 is also 5, squared is also 25. Do I have the square root of 50? Alright, so now I gotta check that out. 50 looks like it's right down. And actually it does. So our final answer, this is like your A. Here's your A plus. Okay? Now, same 2 points. Now we want to find the midpoint. So the midpoint is going to be another point. Right? How do I do that? How do I find my midpoint? I average my x's to find the middle one. Average means add, right? So 1 plus 6 over 2, negative 2 plus 3 over 2. There's your midpoint. You add them and divide by 2. And what do you add? You add your x's, you add your y's. No mix and match, ever. So it looks like my answer is 7 halves, 1 half. Or you could do that decimally if you wanted to. Okay, got it? All right, part 6. Write the equation of the line. All right, what do I have? for number 6, right over to the side, slope-intercept for 6A, and then 6B will do point slope, so that we practice both. So 6A is slope-intercept, and 6B is point slope. Alright, so here we go. It's gonna be slope-intercept. Alright, so what's the first step? No matter what, what's the first thing I have to do? Find the slope. So slope, again, the y's go with the y's, the x's go with the x's. Are you with me, sweetie? Okay. So 15 minus 3, those are my y's. 2 minus negative 2, those are my x's. Y over x is slope. So 12 over 4, I got 3. Then I'm going to pick a point. It doesn't matter which one. Let's pick that one. Y minus 3 equals this 3, m, x plus 2. Take a look at that, make sure you follow that. Since it's slope-intercept, I changed the directions for this is slope-intercept. I'm going to distribute. And there is my answer. Uh, 6B, I want to be perpendicular. To that. So what's the first thing I gotta do? I gotta get y by itself. Because if I get y by itself, then I'll know the slope of that line, and then I can find the perpendicular slope. Be careful. When you get y by itself, you're going to move your 2x to the other side. Okay, subtract 2x. And then divide by negative 1. So I got 2x minus 6. The slope of this line is 2. So what will be the slope of the perpendicular line? Negative 1/2. So here's my point. Y minus 1 equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. And I told you I wanted that one the point slope, so I'm done. Okay with everybody? Alright, one more on this page. Write the equation of the circle whose center is 6, negative 2 with a radius of 4. Okay, this is a circle. Do you remember what circles look like? They do not look like that. What do circles look like? So x minus 6, take a look at the given information. What is my center? 6, negative 2, right? So I have x minus 6. And then guess what I'm going to have in the second one? Y plus 2. And what's it going to equal? Be careful. It's x squared, y squared, r squared. So that number is 16. gotta know. You just gotta know. That's what a circle looks like. All right, one more page and we are done with this guy. Our exponent problem. All right, well, you want to start? I would take care of that guy right there and move him. So what's this gonna be? 9x squared? And this guy, I'm gonna take to the top, so now he's up there. Now, let's start cleaning things up. What's 9 over 6?
3 over 2.
3 over 2. Now be careful with your x's. They're on top of each other, and when they're on top of each other, they cancel. So you're gonna cancel, but where will the leftovers be? Bottom, because there's more down there. So you're gonna have 2 on the bottom. These guys don't cancel because they're right next to each other, so they combine. So you have 1 and 2, so you got a total of 3. Because that's a 1 right there. Alright. And then finally, our projectile motion. So here's the formula, which I told you I would always give you. But you need to fill in the information. Part A says, write the equation for this particular problem. That's the general formula. What's the equation for this problem? S of t equals negative 16t squared. Plus 20t, thank you. I was getting ready to get mad. Plus 30. So there is the equation for this problem. Now remember, I told you S of t is h, so if you would rather say h, that's okay. That's the height. So if you want to use h, perfect. If you want to use function notation, perfect also. Alright, so that's A. B, when does a ball hit the ground? I want you to think about that for a second. This ball got thrown off the top of the building 30 feet tall, so it looks like this. Here I am on top of the building, I throw the ball up, and eventually it's going to come down and hit the ground. That is what I want to know. Can I use my calculator to help me find that point? I sure can. Isn't that a 0? So I'm going to put in my equation. Negative 16x squared, plus 20x plus 30. And remember, these are x's in my calculator. Don't be messing with t's. That will cause big issues. Now, you know, because I've done a lot of these with you, that I always, at least to get myself started, I zoom 6. You don't have to do that. But I do a lot of things with my calculator, so my window's always messed up, so I just zoomed 6. Now, this is what I saw when I zoomed 6. That is totally good enough. If you see something that looks like that, you are okay. Because that's the point that you want. That's where it's coming down and hitting the ground. This part is imaginary. So that's the one I want. So I'm going to second, trace, 0, enter. And I'm going to move my cursor until it's somewhere around here. Remember, you always know where your cursor is because it tells you. And then I'm going to move my cursor so it's down here somewhere. And then I'm going to put it right in between, and I got 2.13. When does the ball hit the ground? After 2.13 seconds. Put a unit on that. 2.13 seconds. That's when it hits the ground. How high is the ball after 1.5 seconds? Well, you have two options. One option is to go back to your equation right here and put in 1.5 for the time. But remember I told you another option. Another option is to second, trace, value, type in 1.5, and it tells you it's 24 feet tall. So again, that 1.5 is a time. So if you want to put 1.5 into your equation and work that out, you'll get 24 feet. But since you already have the equation in your calculator, you can second, trace, value. First option is value. And then type in 1.5. We just finished the test. Alright, so now what we're going to do is answer any questions you have about any of the papers that I turned back. And then we will look in your notes, the back of the front page. We'll do some property practice. But first, let's hit any questions that you have about any of the papers I turned back. Does anyone have a question about something that I turned back to you? None? Alright friends, let's get our notes out and look at the back of the first page. It's called Extra Property Practice. So get out your big notes packet. And the back of the first page, back of page 1, is called Extra Property Practice. Alright, let's zip through these. I'd love to hear some volunteerism. Cannon. Distributive. He's right. Number 1 is distributive. Very good. How about number 2? We're in our notes packet on the back of the very first page. The back identity. We added 0 and nothing changed. Very good. How about 3? Inverse of multiplication. Very good, Kaden. Inverse of multiplication. How did she know it was inverse? They cancel each other out. And when things cancel out, it's an inverse. This one is being multiplied. Beautiful. Okay, we already talked about number 4 today. What's that one? Associative. Very good. It's associative of multiplication. What changed in problem 4 is the grouping. And when grouping changes, it's associative. Associative. Now be careful with number 5. It's a trick one. Commutative. It is commutative of addition. And you're thinking, wait a minute, Mrs. Ford, it has parentheses. Yes, it does. But did the grouping change? No. We have X and Y in both parentheses. So it's order that changed. And when order changes, it's commutative. So 5 is commutative of addition. Perfect. How about 6? It's not the inverse, it's actually the identity. Because when you multiply times 1, you don't cancel out, you get the same thing back again, don't you? So it is the multiplicative identity. You can abbreviate, just mult-ID. Multiplicative identity. You've already seen number 7 today. I mean, we talked about it already on this sheet. Number 7 is exactly the same as number 2. It's the additive identity. 7 and 2 are the same property. Look closely at 8. Commutative. See how the order changed, guys? Commute. Position changes. You get from here to here. You commutative of multiplication. Number 9. Distributive. How about 10? It's exactly like 5. 10 and 5 are identical. That's commutative, yeah. Commutative of addition. How about 11? It's not commutative because no order changed. What changed? The grouping. And when the grouping changes, you are associative of addition. Yep, associative of addition. Bless you. Number 12. Inverse addition. It's the additive inverse. What happens when you add 6 and negative 6? Gone. They cancel out. That's inverse. All right, 13. Multiplicative identity. So you can abbreviate. Mult-ID. Multiplicative identity. How about 14? Associative multiplication. When is it associative? When all we do is switch the parentheses, right? 15. commutative of addition. When the order changes, the position changes, you're commutative. 16, get this one right. What's happening? Additive inverse, yep, and got it, additive inverse.
On our test, are we gonna be like additive, like, and like multiplication, or can we just call it inverse, or?
No, you have to give a property.
Okay.
Or an operation, which can abbreviate, so,
Okay.
but yes. So for all of them except distributive,
Okay.
distributive is only one distributive property. But all the rest of them, you have to have the property and the operation, so addition and multiplication. Right, so 16 was additive inverse. All right, what's 17? Times by 1, multiplicative identity, identity for multiplication, ID. 18, distributive, yep, distributive. 19, what's happening? You're canceling, so that is an inverse, multiplicative inverse, inverse of multiplication. Commutative, very good. Things switched spots. So it's commutative addition. 21. Distributive. 22. Associative of addition. Did the order change? No, 789, 789. Nothing flip-flop, just the parentheses changed. 23. Commutative, very good. Positions changed, all right? So that's commutative multiplication. 24. Multiplicative identity. When you times by 1, you don't change anything. Speaking of which, 25 is also multiplicative identity. And what's 26? Additive inverse. They cancel each other out. Additive inverse. All right, that sheet is in Canvas, so if you want to do it